First strike. The Artemis drifted silently through the inky void, its sleek hull reflecting distant starlight as it approached the coordinates for humanity's most significant diplomatic mission. Captain Maya Chen stood on the bridge, her dark eyes fixed on the viewscreen showing the approaching alien vessel. Her weathered face remained composed despite the weight of history pressing down upon her shoulders. "The Exilarian ship will reach the rendezvous point in 3 minutes," announced Lieutenant Rodriguez, his voice tight with barely contained excitement. "Their propulsion technology is extraordinary. I've never seen anything like it." Chen nodded, watching as the alien vessel approached with impossible precision. The Exilarian ship resembled a massive crystal formation, its translucent surfaces refracting light in mesmerizing patterns that seemed to defy conventional physics. "All systems ready for first contact protocols," reported Commander Takashi, Chen's second-in-command. His steady presence beside her was reassuring. "The translation matrix is online and diplomatic packages prepared." The bridge fell silent as the alien vessel matched their position perfectly. Humanity had spent centuries looking to the stars, wondering if they were alone. Today, they had their answer. When the communication screen activated, the humans got their first close look at the Exilarians. Tall, willowy beings with iridescent skin that shifted colors like oil on water. Their eyes, 3 per face, were deep pools of swirling violet that seemed to contain galaxies within. "Greetings, children of Earth," spoke the Exilarian emissary, their words translated through the ship's systems into a melodious voice. "I am High Chancellor Zeth of the Exilarian Empire. We welcome humanity to the greater galactic community." The first weeks of diplomatic exchange exceeded all expectations. The Exilarians appeared genuinely fascinated by human culture, art, and resilience. They offered technological exchanges, invited human delegations to their homeworld, and approved the establishment of human colonies on several worlds near their territory, planets they claimed were uninhabited and suitable for human physiology. Within 6 months, the first joint human-Exilarian research facility opened on Mars. Trade agreements were signed. Cultural exchanges flourished. 12 new colony worlds began receiving human settlers, with Novaterra becoming the most prosperous. Administrator Elena Santos personally oversaw Novaterra's development, watching with pride as the settlement grew from a collection of prefabricated structures into a thriving community with farms, schools, and a spaceport that facilitated trade with both Earth and Exilarian worlds. "We're building something truly remarkable here," Santos told the Colonial Council during their 2nd anniversary celebration. "A new chapter in human history." But far from human eyes, in laboratories deep beneath the crystalline cities of the Exilarian homeworld, the aliens viewed humans very differently. Lead researcher Vex moved between examination chambers where unconscious human subjects, diplomats, and traders who had mysteriously disappeared during visits to Exilarian space were subjected to various tests. "Their biology shows remarkable adaptability," Vex explained to assembled military officials. "They survive in environments that would kill most species. Their immune systems fight off infections with surprising efficiency. Their reproductive rate is concerning." Supreme Commander Thrix, the highest military authority in the Exilarian Empire, studied the data with cold calculation. "And your conclusion?" "They are a potential threat," Vex stated simply. "Given sufficient time and access to advanced technology, they could eventually challenge Exilarian dominance in this sector. Their unpredictable nature makes them dangerous. The test colonies have provided valuable data, but we have learned all we need. Then proceed with the next phase," Frix commanded. 2 years and 8 months after first contact, the attack came without warning. Administrator Santos was reviewing construction plans for Novaterra's new medical facility when emergency alarms blared throughout the colony. She rushed to the window and felt her blood turn cold. The sky, normally a beautiful azure blue, had darkened with the shadows of massive Exilarian warships. "This can't be right," she whispered, even as her training kicked in. She slammed her hand on the emergency broadcast system. All citizens, this is not a drill. Proceed immediately to the emergency shelters. I repeat, this is not. The first bombardment shook the building. Windows shattered. Systems failed. Santos grabbed the backup communication unit and sent a desperate message toward Earth. Xilarian ships attacking Nova Terra. They're firing on civilian targets. We need immediate. A second blast knocked her to the floor. Through falling debris, she managed to reach the unit again. They're killing everyone. This isn't a misunderstanding. It's extermination. Similar scenes played out across all 12 human colonies simultaneously. Xilarian precision ensured communication blackouts within minutes of the first strikes. Civilian evacuation ships were targeted first, then hospitals and power plants. On Earth, the emergency transmission from Nova Terra arrived during the United Nations Security Council session. The room fell silent as Administrator Santos' desperate voice played over the speakers, cutting off mid-sentence. Seconds later, similar fragmented messages arrived from other colonies. Captain Chin, now stationed at Earth Defense Command, watched satellite imagery of the colonies going dark one by one. She thought of the Xilarian representatives she had welcomed aboard her ship, the cultural exchanges, the promises of friendship. They planned this from the beginning, she said quietly. Everything was a lie. Commander Takashi, now head of xenobiology research, looked up from the data streaming across his screen. The colony locations, they weren't random unclaimed worlds. They're strategically positioned. If the Xilarians hold those points, they have a direct path to Earth. For 3 days, chaos reigned as humanity struggled to comprehend the betrayal. Then the Grand Chamber of the United Earth Council fell silent as Admiral Reyes stepped to the podium. The evidence she presented hung in the air, both literally in the form of holographic displays showing Xilarian scientists performing experiments on human subjects, and figuratively in the stunned expressions of the council members. The footage speaks for itself, Admiral Reyes said, her voice steady despite having watched these recordings dozens of times. These are not military prisoners. These are civilians from our colonies. Defense Minister Liu stood up slowly. The biological data they're collecting confirms what our intelligence suspected. They're testing our biological vulnerabilities, looking for the most efficient ways to kill us. She swept her hand across the chamber. This was never about territory. They've been planning our extinction from the beginning. The council room erupted in angry voices. Some demanded immediate military strikes against known Xilarian worlds. Others called for evacuation plans to save as many humans as possible. A few simply sat in shocked silence. President Okonkwo raised his hands for quiet, one at a time. We need clear heads now more than ever. Ambassador Johnston, who had led many of the initial contact missions with the Xilarians, raised his hand. His face looked aged beyond his years, the weight of misplaced trust visible in the new lines around his eyes. We should attempt one final negotiation, he said, his voice hollow but determined. Not because I believe they will accept peace, but because we must be certain. And because the galaxy must know we tried every option before what comes next. President Okonkwo nodded. I agree. We will send one final communication. Not pleading, not begging. A clear statement that they can cease hostilities and withdraw, or face the full response of humanity. The message was crafted carefully and sent through all available channels to the Xilarian leadership. In the tense hours that followed, the Council reviewed evacuation procedures for Earth's major cities and a preliminary assessment of military readiness. Admiral Reyes stood by the main communication display, waiting. She had not expected a reply. When it came, Supreme Commander Thrix appeared on screen, his 3 eyes showing no emotion their human observers could recognize. Your species has 2 choices, the translation software rendered his clicking speech. Complete surrender and controlled reduction of your population, or extinction. You have 48 Earth hours to decide. The transmission cut before anyone could respond. The chamber remained silent for several long moments. Then Admiral Reyes stood slowly, her decorated uniform reflecting the chamber lights as she walked to the center of the room. Medals from past Earth conflicts caught the light, reminders of human fighting human, now meaningless in the face of this new threat. Throughout our history, she began, her voice carrying to every corner of the room, humanity has faced those who believed our extinction was their right. Her eyes met those of council members one by one. They all learned the same lesson. She paused, the silence adding weight to her next words. We do not break. We adapt. We overcome. Defense Minister Liu nodded slowly. The Xelarians studied us for almost 3 years, but they still don't understand us. They see our divisions and think we're weak. They don't understand that humans are never more dangerous than when fighting for survival. President Okonkwo called for the vote. The choice before us is clear. Do we fight with everything we have, or do we surrender and place the fate of humanity in Xelarian hands? One by one, the council members registered their votes. The display at the front of the chamber tallied the results in real time. No one was surprised by the outcome. Unanimous. War. President Okonkwo's expression was grim but resolved as he officially declared a state of global emergency. As of this moment, all Earth nations are unified against this threat. All previous conflicts between human governments are suspended. The meeting shifted to implementation. Defense plans that had existed only as theoretical exercises were now activated. Emergency broadcasts would begin within the hour. Civilian evacuation to hardened shelters would commence by morning. Admiral Rice left the chamber with her military staff, their footsteps echoing down the marble hallway. How badly are we outmatched? Asked her aide quietly. Significantly, she admitted. Their technology is at least 2 centuries ahead of ours. She paused, a glint of determination in her eyes. But they've never fought humans before. That night, as darkness fell across Earth's cities, dormant factory floors hummed to life. Production facilities that had been built during previous conflicts and maintained just in case began working at full capacity. On Mars, the military shipyards that most civilians didn't know existed initiated their emergency protocols. Deep beneath the Atlantic Ocean, in a classified facility carved into the seabed, Dr. Hiroshi Sato stood before a gathered team of Earth's most brilliant scientists and engineers. The room was filled with prototypes and experimental technology deemed too unstable or dangerous for conventional use. Project Prometheus is now authorized, he announced, entering his command codes into the central system. Full resources, no restrictions. We need deployable solutions, not perfect ones. He looked around the room, at faces both determined and afraid. You've all speculated about what would happen if humanity faced an extinction-level threat, he said quietly. Now we know. As the scientists dispersed to their stations, Dr. Sato remained at the viewing window, watching as the lights came on in the massive construction bay below. The experimental vessels there, half-built and incorporating technology no human had fully mastered, represented humanity's best hope. They should have killed us all at once, he murmured to himself. Now they'll learn what cornered animals can do. Above, on Earth's surface, millions of citizens watched emergency broadcasts, telling them that humanity was at war with an alien species. Few panicked. Instead, recruitment centers found lines forming before dawn. Retired military personnel reported for duty without being called. Factories converted to war production faster than emergency plans had anticipated. The Xelarians had studied humans, but they had missed something essential. Humans had been fighting each other for their entire history. Now, for the first time, they had a common enemy, and humanity was ready to fight back. The turning point. The Xelarian warships moved into position around the human colony of Proxima Centauri with absolute confidence. Their crystalline vessels, with technology centuries beyond Earth's capabilities, formed a perfect attack formation. Sensor readings showed the approaching human defenders. A collection of retrofitted military ships and converted civilian vessels hastily armed with whatever weapons humanity could muster. Primitive weapon systems detected, reported a Solarian officer. Their ships appeared to be using outdated fusion drives and kinetic weapons. Victory probability, 99.7%. But aboard the human flagship Defiance, Commander Amara Jackson had no intention of fighting the battle the Solarians expected. She stood calmly on the bridge, her experienced eyes studying the tactical display showing the overwhelming enemy force. "They think we'll attack in a standard formation," she said to her officers. "They expect us to fight like we fight each other, but we've never had to fight an enemy with superior technology before." She tapped the display, highlighting the debris field that orbited the nearby gas giant. "Split formations, random jump patterns," she ordered, her voice clear and confident. "Confuse their targeting systems." The human fleet suddenly scattered in what looked like complete disarray to Solarian sensors. Ships accelerated in seemingly random directions. Some cut engines entirely, drifting silently. Others performed erratic maneuvers that made no tactical sense according to standard military doctrine. Aboard the Solarian command ship, confusion spread. "What are they doing?" the commander demanded. "Unknown, sir," replied his tactical officer. "Their movements don't match any known human military patterns." The commander sneered. "It doesn't matter. Begin the attack sequence." The Solarian ships fired their advanced energy weapons, but hit mostly empty space. The human vessels were no longer where prediction algorithms said they should be. When Solarian ships adjusted their targeting, they found the humans had already moved again. Meanwhile, far from the main battle, Major Sanjay Karim and his Special Forces team approached Research Station Omega, a Solarian facility where captured humans were being held. Their small stealth craft attached to the station's outer hull without triggering alarms. "Cutting complete," whispered his engineering specialist. "We have access to the ventilation system." Major Karim checked his weapon one last time before entering the narrow tunnel. He led 5 soldiers, each carrying both weapons and medical supplies. They had trained for this mission using simulations based on the limited data available about Solarian architecture. "Remember," he whispered as they approached the first junction, "get our people out first, then set the charges. We move fast and quiet." They encountered the first Solarian guard at the security checkpoint. The alien never had a chance to sound an alarm before Karim's silenced weapon dropped it to the floor. The team moved deeper into the facility, following the life signs their scanners detected. What they found in the detention area would haunt them forever. Hundreds of humans in various states of medical experimentation, some barely recognizable as human anymore. "Get them all out," Karim ordered, his voice tight with controlled rage. "Everyone who can walk helps someone who can't." Back at the Proxima Centauri colony, the battle had taken an unexpected turn. Commander Jackson's battle group had positioned itself within the debris field, using the natural cover to compensate for their technological disadvantage. "They're pursuing us into the field," reported her tactical officer. "Just as you predicted." Jackson nodded. Her strategy relied on the Solarians' overconfidence, their belief that superior technology meant they could engage in any environment. "Wait for them to reach the marker points," she ordered. "Let them think they're cornering us." The Solarian ships pushed deeper into the debris field, their advanced sensors tracking the human vessels hiding among the massive chunks of rock and ice. They didn't detect the hundreds of simple nuclear mines the humans had planted throughout the field weeks earlier. Primitive technology that didn't register on their advanced scanning systems looking for energy signatures. "Spring the trap," Commander Jackson ordered. When the Solarian fleet reached the perfect position, the mines detonated simultaneously. The explosion was magnificent, a rippling cascade of nuclear fire that engulfed the entire field. Solarian shields, designed to repel energy weapons, weren't calibrated for the sheer physical force of multiple nuclear detonations at close range. 3 Solarian capital ships and 7 smaller vessels vanished instantly. Others, damaged but operational, tried to regroup, only to find human ships emerging from hiding places, firing everything they had at the weakened shields. For the first time since the war began, humanity had scored a significant victory. On Earth, Dr. Sato worked tirelessly in his underwater laboratory. For months, he and his team had been studying recovered Silurian technology, particularly their advanced shielding systems. "The problem isn't power," he explained to Admiral Reyes during her inspection visit. "We can generate enough energy. The problem is adaptation. Their shields automatically adjust to whatever we throw at them." "So how do we overcome that?" Reyes asked. Sato smiled faintly. "By doing what humans do best, stealing a good idea and making it better." He led her to a testing chamber where a small prototype sat on a platform. It looked unimpressive, a jumble of Earth technology with salvaged Silurian components integrated throughout. "We've reverse-engineered their adaptive shielding," he explained. "But we've added something they didn't consider: randomized frequency modulation. Their shields adapt to a specific attack and stay there. Ours will constantly shift, making them harder to penetrate with sustained fire." "When can we deploy it?" Reyes asked. "We've already begun production. The first units will be ready for installation on our capital ships within 2 weeks." The next major engagement came 3 months later. A Silurian battle group approached the Jupiter defense perimeter, humanity's last major line before Earth itself. But this time, Earth's defenders were ready. The flagship Resilience, commanded by Captain Chen, led the defense fleet. Her ship and 5 others had been retrofitted with Dr. Sato's adaptive shield technology. "Silurian fleet entering weapons range," her tactical officer reported. Chen nodded. "Activate adaptive shields. All ships, execute battle plan Thermopylae." The human ships formed a tight defensive formation in front of Jupiter. As the Silurians opened fire with their superior weapons, something unexpected happened. The human shields flickered and shimmered but held. "Shields holding at 82%, reported the engineering officer, a note of surprise in her voice. "They're adjusting their weapon frequencies," Chen observed, "just as Dr. Sato predicted. Our shields are already adapting. Return fire, all batteries." The battle raged for hours. The Silurians, accustomed to quick victories against human forces, found themselves in a prolonged engagement where their technological advantage was steadily eroding. When Chen ordered the hidden railgun platforms on Jupiter's moons to activate, the Silurians were caught in a devastating crossfire. "They're retreating," her tactical officer announced, disbelief evident in his voice. "We've driven them back." Cheers erupted across the bridge, but Chen remained focused. Damage report: 3 ships lost, 4 heavily damaged. But the Silurians lost 11 ships, including 2 dreadnoughts. Chen allowed herself a small smile. "Send word to Earth. Tell them the Jupiter defense held." In the following months, the tide of war began to shift. Human guerrilla tactics combined with their rapidly advancing adaptive technology made each engagement more costly for the Silurians. Research teams continued to study captured Silurian technology, incorporating it into human designs in ways the aliens had never considered. In his laboratory beneath the Atlantic, Dr. Sato made another breakthrough. The recovered data from Major Karun's raid had revealed a critical weakness in Silurian biology. Their nervous systems were particularly vulnerable to specific electromagnetic frequencies. "It won't kill them," he explained to the War Council, "but it will incapacitate them temporarily. It could give our ground forces the edge they need in direct combat." 3 years into the war, humanity had clawed its way back from the brink of extinction. The surviving colonies had been fortified. Earth's defense grid had been enhanced with reversed-engineered Silurian technology. Manufacturing centers on the Moon and Mars produced ships equipped with adaptive shields and weapons specifically designed to counter Silurian systems. Supreme Commander Thrixt stood before the Silurian Imperial Council, his normally iridescent skin dull with fatigue. "The human resistance continues to grow stronger," he admitted. "Their adaptability exceeds all projections. They learn from each encounter, adjusting their tactics and technology at an alarming rate." "How is this possible?" demanded the imperial sovereign. They were primitives. We underestimated them. Thrix replied simply. Their history of internal warfare has made them exceptional at adapting to overcome superior forces, and their unified response was unexpected. We calculated that their nations would fracture under pressure, but instead, they have formed the most cohesive defense we have ever encountered. The decisive battle came at Alpha Centauri. The Xilarians had amassed their largest fleet yet, a final push to crush human resistance once and for all. Humanity gathered every ship they could muster, equipped with all the technological innovations they had developed throughout the war. President Okonkwo addressed the combined fleet before they departed. You carry with you the hopes of every human being. But remember this, the Xilarians chose this war. We did not. They believed we would surrender or die. Today, you will show them how gravely they miscalculated. The battle lasted for 2 days. Space around Alpha Centauri became a graveyard of shattered ships, both human and Xilarian. The humans fought with desperate courage, employing every tactic and technology they had developed. The turning point came when Captain Chen, commanding the new dreadnought Ascendants, executed a daring maneuver. Using Jupiter's gravity as a slingshot, her ship accelerated to near-relativistic speeds before deploying a new weapon, the quantum disruptor, Dr. Sato's final creation before his death during an attack on his facility. The weapon tore through the fabric of space-time itself, creating a cascading failure in the Xilarian flagship's power systems. The massive alien vessel, nearly the size of a small moon, exploded in a brilliant flash that temporarily outshone the nearby star. With their command structure in chaos and facing an enemy that refused to break, the remaining Xilarian forces began to retreat. Human ships pursued, driving them back across the systems they had conquered. 1 month later, a Xilarian diplomatic vessel approached Earth under a flag of truce. The Supreme Council convened to hear their message. The Xilarian emissary, a subdued figure compared to the arrogant representatives of First Contact, addressed the assembled human leaders. The imperial sovereignty wishes to negotiate terms, the alien stated, the translation carrying a note of disbelief at having to speak these words. Admiral Rice stepped forward. Negotiate. You attempted to exterminate our species. What could you possibly offer that would interest us now? Survival. The Xilarian replied simply. Both yours and ours. This war has cost us more than we anticipated. We recognize now that humanity cannot be conquered. If the conflict continues, it will devastate both our civilizations. President Okonkwo studied the alien carefully. Return all human prisoners. Withdraw from all human systems. Provide reparations for the colonies you destroyed and the lives you took. And in return, the Xilarian asked, we won't pursue your fleet back to your homeworld and reduce it to ash, Okonkwo stated flatly. The peace treaty was signed 3 weeks later. Humanity had not only survived, but had forced one of the galaxy's oldest civilizations to the negotiating table. As human ships reclaimed their colonies and began the process of rebuilding, a new understanding spread throughout Earth and its settlements. They were not alone in the universe, and now the universe knew. Humanity would not go quietly into the night. They had been pushed to the edge of extinction and had responded with a ferocity that would ensure no species would dare threaten them again. Captain Chen stood on the observation deck of Earth's new orbital defense station, watching as reconstruction ships departed for the outer colonies. Commander Takashi joined her, his face bearing new scars from a battle he had barely survived. Did you ever think we'd make it this far? He asked quietly. Chen shook her head. When I first saw those Xilarian ships over Novaterra, I thought we were finished. What made the difference, do you think? She considered for a moment, watching Earth rotate slowly beneath them, the blue planet that had almost been lost. They study our technology, our biology, our military capabilities, she said finally. But they never understood what actually makes humans dangerous. We don't just fight to win. We fight to survive. And we never, ever give up. In the decades that followed, humanity expanded cautiously into the stars. Their reputation preceded them, the species that had defeated the Xelarian Empire against impossible odds. Other alien civilizations approached with respect and caution, offering genuine alliances rather than the false friendship the Xelarians had extended. And on a monument erected in the center of the rebuilt Nova Terra colony, a simple inscription served as both warning and promise to the galaxy. They believed we would break. They were wrong.